Hello, everyone. My name is Diana Weisinger, and I'm an early childhood special education teacher. I am here today to talk with you about tracking and ability grouping. So, it's my belief that students each need instruction that is individualized towards them. I do believe that ability grouping can be a successful um, tool for educators and for people in the education classroom as well as students. Um, when students are small and they're in elementary school, um, and this goes way back to the turn of the century, a long time ago, all the excuse me, kids would be grouped by the bluebirds and the redbirds, which is a really common term. Um, and ability grouping is grouping children by their ability. So for reading, if you read at a certain level, you were placed in a group with children that read at the same level. If you were um, in math and you were placed in a group where the students were doing the same math or had the same math skills as you, so that you guys could continue forward in that same um, information, same learning rate, and those things. Um, as an educator, I think it's really important that we use ability grouping because it allows us to individualize and personalize um, our lessons and things to tailor the needs of each student, which is really important. I think that differentiating instruction is a great tool and it allows students to be successful in all areas and all abilities. Um, I think that people make a negative connotation to it because if you're a child that's known as, oh, that kid's always in this black group or red group or whatever, then people might make a stereotype about something. But for a lot of kids, especially if you're using ability groups throughout the day in a structured way, then just because a kid is in a high reading group doesn't mean he's going to be in a high math group. And there's different ways that you can group students for other activities that will allow them to all feel successful and work together all the time. So you won't always have the same few kids in a group and they never get to meet other kids. It is important also for, lower students to have examples of what higher level students are doing in models. But at the same time, I think it's important for the higher students to be able to successfully support other students. How functional would it be for a student to be able to help teach another student? Sometimes learning from peers is a very, very successful strategy. Um, as far as tracking goes, this term tracking and ability grouping have been kind of grouped together now in the common time, but back when it started, tracking was a path choice or pathway to life after high school. So students were tracked, vocational. They were on the vocational track. They were going to learn how to do a specific skill or trade, and that's what they were going to do. They were on the college prep track, which meant they were going to do college preparatory work so that they could be successful in college and head that way and get the information that they needed for college. And then they also had like kind of the general middle track. In the article that I read, well, I've read a few of them. I was able to access all of them but one. There was like a little tricky way to do it, but I did it. And the articles gave a lot of information. The reason that this ability and tracking thing kind of appeared is because at first schools were for the upper middle class, and then all of a sudden you had this influx of immigration and this influx of the black workers, or not the black workers, I'm sorry, the black students from all of the equal rights and all of these other things that came into play in that time, in the early to mid 1900s. And then this all played an effect in education. So all of a sudden you have these students that came from upper middle class families that probably did pretty successful in school and were headed one way where families also cared. I think in a lot of the way things are viewed and the way things are done is families don't not all families, not all cultures, not all people have the same views of the importance of education. And I think that plays a role into it. The high school that I went to and I attended as a student, I graduated in 2001, so it was quite a while ago for me anyways. It was, there were so many options. They had a career pathways program going, which allowed you to choose specialized fields, junior ROTC, the medical field. I don't think it was as broad a field as the current high school that I'm working at, but there were options for you to choose that would lead you in that direction, help you take classes towards that. And then there were kids that, just probably really didn't care, or their families didn't care. There wasn't a high value of education, and they just did the basic menial classes to graduate high school and get out of there, if they made it that long. And then there was kind of the general population that, got to go to, they took all the classes, they were involved in sports or whatnot, and there was not any really specific way or model that it happened, but I felt, I felt that I had a lot of opportunity, but I was told in my home that, my parents didn't go to college, and it was important that college was an important thing, because I didn't want to struggle like my parents did when I was growing up, and so that became important for us and for me. And so what I love now that is happening, because I think tracking is still there, but I don't think it's maybe as broad a term in every high school, or I think people are seeing that labeling something vocational education or labeling anything, a label is just a label. It doesn't mean that you're smart or you're stupid or you're not going to learn. All of us can learn. All people can learn. People learn differently, and people have different strengths and different weaknesses, and we as educators need to focus on those to support these students to have high expectations and get them as far as they can go in the world, and get them to internalize that so that it becomes something that they want to do. So the current high school where I'm at, South Central Unified in rural Nebraska, we're in Fairfield, they have started this career pathways program, and it's similar to what I've heard of in high school, but when I was in high school, the career pathways we had was specialized, so it was, people that enjoyed like gardening and things, they had like a botany kind of garden and greenhouse and that kind of thing. They had the junior ROTC for people that were interested in the military. They had medical field and dental, if you were interested in those fields, but it wasn't as broad as what this school here is doing. I've been really, really impressed with what they've done in the last year and a half, and I know that they've had some reservation from people in the community because they feel that it's a vocational type program. But in reality, what they're doing is reaching all students. And so what they do is at the beginning of your junior year, and they'd like to change that, they're working down so it's your freshman year, so you have that much more time to really put time into this and effort and thought and experience. And say I was a student and I was a junior and I was starting high school, or I was starting my junior year, I would decide, okay, you know what? I really love small children, and I think it would be awesome to be in the classroom with them. And I'm going to focus on that and see where that takes me. So then once you pick a field, and I'm talking, we had a huge variety of field last year. There was people interested in being a police officer. There was people interested in welding. There was people interested in wood making. There's people interested in farming and agriculture. There's people interested in dental work, education from early childhood to high school. There were people interested in being a school psychologist. There were people interested in social work. There were people interested in the medical field, in veterinary school. And so then what the district did is they have this team of people. The principals are included. The superintendent himself was very, very involved. And they've got a couple teachers on board. And they then go into the community and link people to their specific field or occupation that they're interested in. Now they have a mentor and in the field that they're interested in, and they can learn from that person. They can ask questions, gain information, be in an office or be in the place where they would eventually work, to get that everyday experience and see what doing that job is really like. And I think what this does is open the world for so many children, students, teenagers, people, because you not only get all of this training and information, you can now make a decision. If you were on the college prep course, if that's what they would have called it 15 years ago or 5 years ago, you may now decide ahead of time, hey, I'm not going to go to college for this because this is not for me. I have made that clear. I have learned that through high school, and I'm not going to do that. But this sounds really amazing, so I'm going to try this now. So you've now cut out that, or you hopefully have cut out that time of college paid for and wasted and people changing majors and things like that. Hopefully it will let them experience more in the world and have a better understanding of who they are and what they want to do. You've also reached students that thought maybe college was never an option, but now they've decided, oh, well, they love computers and they want to be a graphic design artist. Well, what they're going to find out is, oh, well, this is what the salary is. This is what the coursework is required. So, wow, even though I never thought I was going to go to college, this is an important part of me becoming somebody that can work on computers. And it's available to everybody, so your socioeconomic status doesn't become a problem. The school counselor is very involved. She helps students apply for scholarships and grants and all kinds of things to support them in this roles. And then through all of that, the school is also got dual credit classes. So the district is paying for students to take classes in general classes and or specialized classes that will transfer to college because they're college level courses, and they are getting high school credit and college credit for them, and they're not having to pay a penny out of pocket. I mean, that is incredible. So many people can benefit from that. And the high school teachers they've got it worked out where they get a certain amount of money for teaching a college course. They've gone through whatever they've needed to go through CCC, Central Community College. And so this program is just evolving and evolving. And I know, like I said, a lot of people feel like, oh, well, it's just vocational. My kid is way better than that. But in the reality, any job somebody gets into, the more interest you have in it, the more time you spend doing it, the more research, and the more you understand it, you're going to be that much more involved in it. That's my personal take on it. As a parent, I'm looking forward to the day when my 7 and 5-year-old are at that level, because that's where learning becomes amazing and fun. And you get past the math and science and the math and the reading and language where younger students sometimes struggle or sometimes get bored with school. And what I foresee in the future for the program here at this district is it may be trickling down and finding kids' interests even earlier and really helping them become experts and just incredibly knowledgeable people about something. And this will translate into their work and their pride of what they're doing and their self-awareness and their self-worth. And they will see that there are so many opportunities in the world that they aren't grouped by, some word or some whatever and all of those things. So I don't think it's always necessarily perfect for tracking at all, but ability grouping I do think is a very important skill, and the more you can individualize something for all students at the same time in this similar way so that they're getting what they need, it's just going to make it that much more amazing. So I am for ability grouping, absolutely. I want to see a change in supporting middle school, high schoolers for not necessarily just tracking one way, but tracking to something that they're passionate about, they have an interest for, and really helping them explore the options so that all students understand that there's access to everything. It's just a matter of trying and applying and that kind of a thing. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you. Bye.